Good day, guys. I hope we all good. Just a quick recap on C5. So I wanted to highlight something. I think I also sent a chat yesterday in the group where I spoke about this level here. So we had cells which didn't play through. So this was a failed pattern, and they extended the high. Somebody was asking, what does it mean when I say extended the high? What it simply means is, if you notice on my charts, there is period separators. These vertical dotted lines here, these are period separators. So anywhere from H1 going all the way back to the minutes, 1 minute time frame, they represent 1 day or 24 hours. Then if you are on H4, the period separators, they represent the week. It's 7 days. So when we're saying prices extended the high, it simply means on this first high. So when the price opens, so we're going to start here. This is where the market opened. Price started pushing up, right? Higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. So this was the first high, second high, third high. But once we see a pattern form now, we consider this the high of the day. That's why we were selling here, because we also had a pattern. But if price comes to take us out and breaks this current high, it means they are extending that high, and this is the new high of the day. So if you zoom in to that particular chart, you will notice that they set a new high here. Right now, we're looking for a new pattern to form. So we've got this high, we've got a peak order block, which was not broken. Then they slightly extended this high again, but it's the same pattern now. It's on the same pattern. This is a formation of the same pattern. Then they played out. So yesterday when I said price extended the high, it's the same thing. So price came, our pattern started forming here on the previous day's what? High, right? So this was the high of the day. So once we saw this pattern, we're looking for sells. This is where we first attempted to sell. Then price retraced with a stop loss at 35.35, and price came and took us out. Let me just check where 35.35 was. If you notice, it was slightly above the previous day's high. The reason I put it there is because I was thinking price would just come tap into yesterday's into the previous day's high again, then drop. That's why we put our stop loss just above here. So if you notice, that high for yesterday was extended. That's a high extension of the high. Again, price took us out, a new pattern formed, then the price sold off, and it's been selling off. So that's what an extension means, and it's vice versa if it's a buy. I'll show you an example just now. So looking at C5, we've got a higher high, and we have a low here, a lower low, lower high, lower low. So I'm expecting a possibility of a lower high around this area. We have an order block. We have a broken order block, which is a breaker block. Then we have this zone here. So those are my 3 points of interest. Either price will respect this, or they will respect this, or they will extend this level, or potentially extend today's high again, just coming above this zone here from yesterday before we get a pattern to sell. So that's how I'm looking at it. From yesterday, we had this safe sales before 34.70 was based off this setup. So if price had continued coming down, we're going to look for safe sales here. So for me, this it's still possible to actually sell beyond the zone. So for now, I feel like liquidity has been taken out below here. Sell stops triggered, so prices to take them out first before it continues down if it wants to push down. So that's my current view for C5. Going to C300 is been bearish. I think we spoke about it either yesterday or the day before. we had a peak and a nice sell-off from the top. Price came, our pattern was in here on the M15, it dropped. There was huge momentum to the downside. We came and we broke this order block and retested it. Price dropped again, retested this area. So today, what are we looking for? It's more or less the same thing, looking for a continuation of these sales based on a higher time frame analysis, which we had a couple of days ago. So if you see from the daily, this is the pattern. I'm anticipating price to eventually get to 2904 or 2900. So I'll be actively looking for sales. Let me round this up to 2900. Okay, perfect. So I'm looking for sales, and this is the potential target, right? So if you drop to H4, what do we have on H4? We're looking for supply zones. So looking at this particular chart, let's see, what would we call a supply zone here? So after this high was set, we've seen price breaking structure, breaking, almost breaking this. So after taking liquidity out here, I'm anticipating a pullback. That's when we're going to be interested to enter. So our supply zones, the ones which I see from my side, if we do break this structure on the bottom, then I would consider this to be my supply zone. So I'll be looking at potential sells from anywhere in this area, and I'll also pay attention to how price acts. It's either they will tap or they will come slightly above, take out this high, maybe interact with the 50 EMA before we see a continuation drop. That's possible. Or price can just tap here where the 13 EMA will be and they will drop. So for now, this liquidity has to be taken. Hence, you see the price pushing. If we get a pullback, then we are going to enter. Dropping down to H1, more or less the same thing. So if you notice, that supply zone from H4, when we come to H1, is this zone here. And we also have the 50 EMA coming. We got a 1350 cross. We didn't get a 50 retest. So we get a 50 retest anyway in here. So I would say if price comes anyway inside 3300 all the way to 3400, this is my range where I anticipate the setup to form. So if price forms a setup in here in this range, then I'll execute a sell. Then I'll also advise in the group. But that's a zone which you should just mark, and we'll see how that plays out. Then C1 has been bearish for a long time, reaching the target. But at the same time, I feel like, okay, we broke this zone here. So let me just actually, okay, we've got liquidity lying below this area. Okay, excuse me, I'll be right. All right, sorry about that. I'm back. So what I'm looking at now is for price to come take out liquidity right on the bottom here around 57.92. So let's round it up to 57.90. Let's see how it looks like. Let's just see if I got that correct. Okay, yeah. So 57.90, I'll say we can potentially get price accelerating into 57.90 before we get any form of a retracement to this push down. So it could be a retracement, it could be a reversal, but for now we want to take a sell and potentially target 57.90 as a take profit. So dropping to H4, We're now looking for a possible entry. So this TP zone we had, let me see if it was the one, or rather this zone we had, you can see price is like retesting that area. We're also retesting the 13 EMA on H4. So we agree we are bearish. Drop down to H1. H1 we don't really have a clean pattern which I would want to use. But if you notice, price hasn't been giving any clean patterns. It's just been accelerating for the most part. So, like if you look at this day, it was just acceleration with no clean pattern on H1 or no clean candles which you could use except for bearish engulfing candles which you see here. That's the only sign we had. But again, entering these, you see we had no clean retracements. It wasn't too clean. So it could also happen today. So if it does happen, what I'm waiting for is for price to break today's lows. Then I'm going to take this all the way down here to 57.90. That's my first possible play. The second possible play, let's just drop down the time frame, see if we've got something to use. Okay. So from here, I'll notice I want to pay attention to the previous day's high. You see the 200 EMA is coming up here. So again, we could still get price coming up, interacting with the previous day's high, maybe the 200. That's just a possibility. We could get price coming to this order block. So from this peak we have from last night, this was the order block here, which was broken and retested. Then price dropped. So price can still come into this order block before we actually get sells. And that will actually be good because you see this order block is now a breakup block now, right? Then this is an order block here. So if we get price coming into this order block and slightly above it and respecting the breakup block, then that will be a high probability setup. And as we break here, we just scale in, look for a possible break and a retest, and just scaling in onto that trade. That's my current view for now on C1000. M15 is more or less the same as M30. We have the peak, the broken order block retested once. And on M15 now, the breaker block retest will be in line with the 200 EMA. So if price can come here, I think this could be a high probability setup from here. This, if they come here, it will be a stop hunt. If they come here and respect it and give a pattern, we'll consider this a stop hunt. And if they come below and retest, we'll consider this acceleration and we'll still take trades. So these are the three possible scenarios which I anticipate, and if they happen like that, I'll execute. But if something else happens, then I won't have any setup. Going to B5, you can see we had setups yesterday, but I was frustrated with B5. You know the story, how frustrating it is. Where our pattern marked out, right? We've got a low, we've got an order block here. But what I did is I needed more confirmation because we were in a bearish trend. We are apparently we still are, as you can see. So what I did is, okay, let me start this setup where we've been explaining the past couple of days. If you come to the H1, you remember, I think when we were here, we mentioned this price can potentially come to this zone. And we put this, we marked that zone there. So price reacted on that zone yesterday. And I was anticipating them to come into the supply zone at least before continuing down if they wanted to. But they didn't get there, even though they didn't get it. The setup played out, though, but it actually took us out. So that's the daily view. That was our reasoning for the buy. So when I came to the charts yesterday, I was just looking at a pattern. So I got my pattern. I used this because I wanted to see this acceleration, at least telling me that they want to come up here. So as soon as I got this, I marked this broken order block, right? Then price bounced off the previous day's low. I was active here. right? I think I was also active here. Price pushed up a few pips, almost 10 pips, I think. We decided to hold, right? Then price retraced all the way, took us out here. Even though it was still in the zone, I wasn't really patient of holding. So price took us out. They bounced again, and I decided to re-enter. Right, I re-entered, anticipating price to come. Even though I had this marked out as a safe entry area, I still had my runners in here, and price was just like sideways for the most part of the day. B500 was just frustrating. Then again, they came down. Let me see. They actually took me out with this week, that position, because my positions are always at the close of the candles. So my positions were a bit higher up, where they were here, right? The week came, took me out. I was like, okay, what's going on here? I'm not sure if I entered the third time, but I just marked it now because I was just really frustrated. I don't think I entered the third time. This was the last zone, but you can see what I wanted to highlight on this particular setup is with B5, you need to exercise extreme patience. This is how it moves. It's just frustrating. But however, the zone held. So if the stop loss was below this last structure, this is actually where the stop loss is supposed to go. So please take notes. Your stop loss always is to go below the previous level. You see either on M15 or M5. That's the safest spot where you can put your stop loss. So if our stop loss was here, we would have actually cashed it because the 200 EMA was the target. Eventually, they played out, broke the safe entry barrier. From here to here, I think it was about 20 pips, which was still a good scalp, but I had already maxed out on my daily loss limit here. So this was a losing day for me, even though the setup eventually played out. So today, when I looked at it, I thought maybe they were going to react on the previous day's low. But at the same time, in my mind, I know that on the daily, we have been strong bearish and we still are. So where can we be coming? If you notice, we are in a demand zone. This whole area is a demand zone, right? But there's a lot of candles here. So literally this whole zone is valid. But for now, I want to pay attention on how they react. Bless me. I want to pay attention. Bless me. Oh, struggling flu. I want to pay attention on how they react with the 800 EMA on the daily. We should potentially get some spikes, even though it might not be a big move, but I'm anticipating to get some spikes when this price gets to 46.12, right? 46.12, 46, let's just say 46.10. 46.10 area, I'm looking for potential spikes or a short-term move. It might actually be the move we want going back to this area. We'll see. But it looks like if we continue strong bearish, then this will be a new supply zone, and this could actually be long-term downtrend. So we'll just see how this plays out. I'll keep you guys posted. Again, B1, I'm looking for an interaction on the 800 EMA. We are currently in a zone from a higher time frame, and I'm looking forward for a potential let's me potential buys going back up here. We've been bouncing off the 13 EMA, so if we can get a touch again there, I think B1 could actually give us some nice moves today. So let's keep stoking on B1. See how they handle this zone here around 13,735. Let's wait for it there. 13,735. That's my point of interest for B1, and the TP is open. I'm looking for a good buy. Actually, we can TP on yesterday's high, we can TP on today's high, TP on yesterday's highs, and we'll just see how price will be playing if it decides to become bullish. J10, I don't think I have anything today. Let's see. Oh, we are bearish. You can see we have a pattern. I remember yesterday, I think we mentioned that we want to look for sales. Let's see what happened. Oh, not yesterday. The day before yesterday, we were looking for sales. And if you notice, I was looking for price to take out this high. They did sold a bit, but they didn't come below this zone. So sometimes the way the candlesticks paint should allow you to see that okay, this price is not coming down. So you should actually handle your trades accordingly. Today, bearish view. Where can I sell from? Let me see if I've got any zone I can use from H4. I've got this zone here. So if price retraces into this area here, which would be around, okay, so you can see this was the lows from yesterday, right? Price bounced, then broke. So if they can come retest that area, then I'll be looking to sell from there. So just look at your M15, this last low, which was broken. If we get a retest there, we're just going to keep it simple, preferably an M, and we look for a fresh pattern to form right there. Then we can take a sell. If it moves like that, we're going to take a sell. B2501S daily has been bullish. It seems like they don't want to come to 14,690. So we could potentially be pushing back up to the 50 EMA on the daily. But if you see, we also have some supply zones which we marked here. So this one, I'm not really sure what they want to do, because here we've got a resistance. They can reject there. Here we've got a broken water block, which is a breaker. So we could potentially be pushing up to those areas. If price retraces into this 4-hour demand, I can look for buys. So I'll be looking for something like this right now. But if they come up first, then this becomes invalid. But if they continue coming down, I'm looking for a reaction here. 4-hour demand zone, looking for buys to take out this week's highs into this area here. Then from there, we'll see what happens. So that's my view. Apart from that, I think that's all for today. I'll be stalking on C5 and stalking on B1000. So that's all for today, guys. I hope today's session was helpful. I hope you took notes on the extensions. Well, I wanted to explain an extension on the lower side when we say the lows have been extended. So this is a perfect example. In this particular day, we had our pattern forming here, right? A breaker, anticipating a retest here. They didn't come here. They respected this zone, right? They still came up. So this was the low of the day. They extended that low to here, right at the close of the day. That's where the setup picked off on the following day. So this is a low extension going into the next day. Same low being retested, then a new pattern forming. So when we say price is extended, the low, it simply means the low of that particular day, they have set a new low, then the pattern is formed. So I hope today's session was helpful, and I hope your day is also productive, and wishing everybody a good week and a peaceful month. Good trading.